Before we get into today's edition of Just the Truth, Mike Lindell sent me a note yesterday. He has a special for the 6-piece towel set, $25 when you use promo code Joey. Just go to mypillow.com, use promo code Joey. You'll get the $25 offer on the 6-piece towel set, and I promise you, these will be the most comfortable, the most absorbent towels that you own. mypillow.com, use promo code Joey. Get the 6-piece towel set for just $25. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition Studio to lose weight for the last time. Visit myphdweightloss.com. Welcome into National Take Your Dog to Work Day, celebrated annually on the Friday following Father's Day, which that is today. It honors one of our most beloved pets, and people across the country will have their furry little friends that work with them. I'd love to have Jesse and Simon with me right now, but they don't like to get up quite this early. Are you taking your dog to work with you today? Would love for you to text or email me a photo, joey@joeyhudson.com. President Joe Biden's 2024 re-election campaign and the Democrat National Committee raised a combined $85 million in May, which is their second best month of fundraising this election cycle. And they'll need every penny to beat Donald Trump in November, as various polls still show the American people ready to move on from the failed policies of Joe Biden. Remember the Law and Order New York District Attorney Alan Bragg? The guy who hauled Donald Trump into court in New York? There's some laws, I guess, that he evidently doesn't believe should be enforced, as dozens of anti-Israel protesters who occupied and barricaded themselves in buildings on the Columbia University campus back in April. Remember that? They had their charges dropped yesterday. We'll give you the details on that. What do you do if you're a wealthy beachfront landowner in Maine and your neighbor poisons your trees to improve their view? That's what a couple of multi-millionaires are arguing about in court. And Hollywood remembers Donald Sutherland as one of the most engrossing film actors of all time. South Carolina also saying goodbye to another canine officer after Richland County canine officer Wick was killed while pursuing a suspected car thief. Details in today's show.
I told you we'd be back.
And ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free.
It's Joey Hudson.
I wanted to name it the Joey Hudson Bill, but, they don't allow you to put names on bills. But I wanted to call it the Joey Hudson Bill because I know that one's been near and dear to you for a number of years.
That's how it's done. Let your voice be heard.
And the truth shall set you free.
Here's Joey Hudson.
The race is on not only for votes, but for big bucks. President Joe Biden's 2024 re-election campaign and the Democrat National Committee raised a combined $85 million in May, which is their second best month of fundraising this election cycle. I'm not quite sure what that means. Does that mean that Joe Biden has some momentum growing within the Democrat Party? Is there a level of enthusiasm starting to grow for Joe Biden to be able to raise this type of money? The money raised by Biden and the DNC, though, is far short of the massive amount raised by former President Donald Trump's campaign and the Republican National Committee last month. In announcing their May fundraising figures yesterday, the Biden campaign highlighted that they had a huge $212 million cash on hand at the end of May. Biden campaign manager Julie Chavez Rodriguez said in a statement, "Our strong and consistent fundraising program grew by millions of people in May, a clear sign of strong and growing enthusiasm for the president and vice president every single month." Biden's announcement came on the final day the presidential campaigns had to file their May fundraising figures with the Federal Election Commission. The Trump campaign didn't wait for the deadline to brag about theirs, though. The former president's campaign announced over 2 weeks ago that they and the RNC, fueled in part by the former president's guilty verdicts in his criminal trial, had combined raised $141 million in May. All right, so do the math on that. Biden raises $85 million. Trump raises $141 million. That was up from the $76 million they raised in April when they topped President Biden and the Democrat National Committee for the first time in their in this 2024 election rematch. So again, what does fundraising mean? Do dollars equal votes? Can you compare fundraising to how to potential success at the ballot box in November? Spotlighting their grassroots appeal, the Trump campaign said that the average dollar donation was $70.27, with 25% of Trump donors in May being first-time contributors to the former president's 2024 run. Now, that says something to me there. And many of you, we've talked about this before, many of you told me after President Trump was found guilty by these bogus charges brought by Alan Bragg, the same guy who I'm going to talk with you a little bit later today, the same guy who let these anti-Israel protesters on Columbia University's campus, he dropped all charges against them yesterday. We'll talk about that in a minute. The Trump cash announcement came in the wake of what his campaign showcased as record-shattering fundraising immediately after he was found guilty of all 34 felony counts in the first trial of a former or current president in our nation's history. President Trump's campaign highlighted that in the first 24 hours following that Thursday verdict, that they and the RNC hauled in nearly $53 million in fundraising, which counted towards May's total. Now, the Biden campaign, not to be undone, they too raised funds off of Trump's verdict. And a source familiar with the situation said that the 24 hours after the verdict was one of the best fundraising 24 hours of the Biden campaign since they had launched the 2024 reelection effort. They did not share what those numbers are with us, though. Biden's May combined haul came without any major fundraising events headlined by the president. The Biden campaign says that a majority of its May fundraising came from grassroots donors as well. The campaign's been using its funds to build up what appears to be a pretty big ground operation in some of the key battleground states, which is probably where the race is going to be run. That's where the campaign's going to be won in November. They announced earlier that they had hired over 1,000 staff in these battleground states, which gives them a huge organizational advantage over the Trump team right now. Now, let's hope that the Trump campaign combined with the RNC, that they put together a ground game too, because, again, in the battleground states, that's where you need boots on the ground. Ms. Chavez Rodriguez said the money we continue to raise matters, and it's helping the campaign build out an operation that invests in reaching and winning the voters who will decide this election. Biden's campaign appears to have a pretty large cash-on-hand advantage over Trump, whose campaign did not report their cash-on-hand amount. They're not required to, but I would assume that it must be less than what Joe Biden is if, in fact, Donald Trump's campaign did not want to release that number. Biden enjoyed a $146 million to $88 million cash-on-hand advantage over Trump at the end of March, the first quarter. Trump has been aiming to close the what has appeared to be a fundraising gap with Biden, who had regularly been outpacing the Trump campaign in monthly fundraising. Trump's April haul was boosted by a record-setting $50.5 million that the former president's campaign raked in at a single event early in the month with some of the top GOP donors. This was, of course, hosted in Palm Beach, Florida, where at the home of billionaire investor John Paulson, and these were very large money donors. Both candidates have raised a lot of money, if you think about this. And if you think about spending this type of money for a job that pays, what, $400,000? Now, $400,000 is a lot of money to most of us. But still, when you're spending hundreds of millions of dollars, there'll probably be $1 billion spent when you consider outside money. $1 billion, if not more, for a job that pays $400,000. According to a news release from the Biden campaign, the president set a new Democratic Party fundraising record as he brought in over $30 million at the star-studded fundraiser on Saturday this past weekend in Los Angeles, with former President Obama Hollywood heavyweights George Clooney and Julia Roberts, and late-night TV talk show host Jimmy Kimmel. Now, this is where he had his episode, where he stood there on the stage and looked into the abyss. And President Obama had to show him how to get off of the stage. He also, according to his records, brought in $8.1 million at a fundraiser at the Northern Virginia home of former Governor Terry McAuliffe, where he was joined by former President Bill Clinton and former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, who was the Democrats', of course, 2016 standard bearer, who lost to Donald Trump and still hasn't gotten over it. She is still a sore loser. She can't believe that she was beaten by Donald Trump. Meanwhile, Trump's team say that they hauled in roughly $27.5 million during a fundraising swing by the former president in California and Nevada last week. And again, I ask, how does this compare? How many dollars do you need to spend for one vote? Your comments are welcome on the Common Sense Retirement Planning text line 71307. Emails welcome, joey@joeyhudson.com. Glad to have you in on this Friday edition of Sunrise Carolina. Hope you'll join the conversation today. 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. Send your comments to the Furman Ford text line. You can leave a quick voice message, and your emails are always welcome, joey@joeyhudson.com. Soon going to be 4 years ago that I started my journey with PhD weight loss and nutrition. I lost 30 pounds pretty quickly, I might add, and I've been able to maintain that for almost 4 years now. It'll be 4 years coming up in July. If this is the year that you have decided that you're going to get healthy, that you're going to lose that weight, that visceral fat that's so damaging around your waist, then now's the time to start. Let me encourage you to make that call today. 864-252-4925. Set up your initial consultation with PhD Weight Loss and Nutritionist. Boy, am I glad that I met Dr. Ashley Lucas 4 years ago and that she got me on the right path to getting healthy. You're going to be able to do things that you may have thought you'd never be able to do again. Play with the kids, the grandkids, be able to hike and walk and maybe play a full 18-round hole of golf and be able to do it and not get so winded. Because when you take that excess weight off, you're just going to feel better. You're going to be able to focus. You're going to be able to sleep better. Your overall health is just going to be improved. 864-252-4925. Call, set up your initial consultation. Find them online at myphdweightloss.com. PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition, the official partner of the Clemson Tigers. Hollywood is saying goodbye to actor Donald Sutherland as tributes poured in on social media as Hollywood mourned the loss of this prolific actor who died yesterday at the age of 88. With a heavy heart, I tell you that my father, Donald Sutherland, has passed away, his son Kiefer Sutherland shared on social media. I personally think of one of the most important actors in the history of film. Never daunted by a role, good, bad, or ugly, he loved what he did and did what he loved, and one can never ask for more than that, a life well lived. Director Ron Howard showed admiration for Sutherland in a tweet shared on X. Said, I was blessed to direct him in Backdraft. He wrote, one of the most intelligent, interesting, and engrossing film actors of all time. Incredible range, creative courage, and dedication to serving the story and the audience with supreme excellence. Ben Stiller replied to Kiefer's message, sending love and so much respect. The Canadian actor began his film career starring in The Dirty Dozen, Kelly's Heroes. I hadn't thought about Kelly's Heroes in forever. You remember that movie? I really had forgotten that he starred in that. He became known for roles in Animal House, Backdraft, as mentioned, 6 Degrees of Separation. That was an interesting movie. And my wife Peg's favorite, Pride and Prejudice. She has watched Pride and Prejudice probably 100 times, and I'm not exaggerating. Donald Sutherland also earned 2 Golden Globes and a Critics' Choice Award. He was known for portraying unique characters in dozens of film and television roles. He was born in St. John, Canada. He barely survived a series of childhood diseases, including infantile paralysis, rheumatoid fever, and spinal meningitis. Earlier this year, Sutherland announced a memoir about his life was in the works. He scheduled a publication date in November. The publisher, Crown said in a statement, Dylan Sutherland has made an indelible mark on the industry since his life-changing role in mass catapulted him into the public eye nearly 60 years ago. Made Up But Still True by Donald Sutherland is the actor's first work as an author, the publisher said. He's survived by his wife, Francine, daughter, Rachel, and 4 sons, Kiefer, Rossif, Angus, and Rogue. Manhattan DA drops his charges against Columbia University students. Now, this is the law and order DA, or at least he wanted us to think that he's law and order, Alvin Bragg. Dozens of anti-Israel protesters who occupied and barricaded themselves in buildings on the Columbia University campus back in April had their charges dropped yesterday. The office of Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg, who, of course, famously prosecuted, or you might say persecuted, Donald Trump for some bogus charges, is dropping the cases against 30 students and staff members who were arrested during the campus unrest. Judge Kevin McGrath announced in the courtroom, quote, "All these matters are dismissed and sealed in the interest of justice." Whose justice? Whose justice is this in the best interest of? All the protesters were arrested on April 30th, hours after taking over Hamilton Hall, which is an academic building on campus. They were initially charged with trespass in the 3rd degree, which is a misdemeanor. Stephen Millen, a prosecutor in the Manhattan District Attorney's Office, said there was insufficient evidence to show that any individual defendant damaged property or injured anyone. He noted the protesters wore masks and covered surveillance cameras so that they couldn't be seen. Now, is this bringing back some memories? I wonder if they spent the resources and the time that was spent on the January 6th protesters, where you had people innocently walking into the U.S. Capitol, but it's ruined their lives. None of the students arrested, according to Alvin Bragg, had any prior criminal history. You could say that that's the same for a lot of the January 6th protesters. And all were facing disciplinary proceedings, including suspensions and expulsions by Columbia University, according to the prosecutors. So they felt like that's sufficient, that whatever action Columbia University takes is sufficient punishment for these kids. In a statement, they said the office is continuing to pursue cases from both campuses, including all assaults against police officers. These are ongoing school disciplinary proceedings that will take place for the students who had their case dismissed, referring to Columbia and the City University of New York. Columbia University declined to comment on the dropped cases, according to Fox News. The chaotic protests, of course, came amid similar demonstrations all across the country. Anti-Israel protesters, they set up illegal encampments across college campuses throughout the country. All of this in protest of Israel's response to the Hamas terrorist attacks back in October, on October 7th. The protest intensified after Columbia issued mass suspensions. Students felt like that they shouldn't have been suspended, so they tried to literally take over the campus. They did take over that one building. Bragg's office declined to drop the charges against 13 defendants. 2 of the 13 were Columbia students. The other 11 had no affiliation with the school, although most were alumni of the school. Their cases would have been dropped if they had avoided being arrested over the next 6 months. However, they rejected the offer and are scheduled to appear in court on July the 25th. The office is bringing charges against James Carlson, who is not affiliated with Columbia, of criminal mischief and arson for setting an Israeli flag alight prior to the takeover and for damaging a police surveillance camera in jail. Carlson appeared in court with his attorney, who said that they plan to challenge the prosecution. Again, you think they spent the time that was spent trying to track down, identify the January 6th protesters? I mean, they're claiming that they couldn't identify some, so they couldn't really prove if they had damaged property or if they were even in the building. So, as I recall, there were a good number of January 6th folks who also had on masks because that was in the thick of COVID, if you'll recall. But law enforcement spent an awful lot of time, resources, viewing literally thousands of hours of video to try to prove that some of these January 6th protesters were in the building. Hope you'll join the conversation today. 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. Send your comments to the Furman Ford text line. You can leave a quick voice message, and your emails are always welcome, joey@joeyhudson.com. Whether you're replacing a broken appliance or maybe you're just upgrading, you're totally remodeling the kitchen, when it's time to get those new appliances, when you're ready for them, you don't want to have to wait weeks or even months to get started using them, right? Well, that's not the case when you shop with my friends at Discounted Appliance Warehouse. With over 11,000 square feet and 1,500 appliances at any given time, you can buy today and use today quite often. I'm talking about shopping with my friends at Discounted Appliance Warehouse in Pickens. It's worth the short drive over to Pickens. Jeff, Johnny, Kyle, the whole team over there, they'll take good care of you. They have an award-winning service department, expert installation, extended warranties, and at Discounted Appliance Warehouse, they treat you like family. You're more than just a credit card swipe to all the team over there. Discounted Appliance Warehouse, they're proud to offer Speed Queen, the only washer and dryers with manufacturer's warranties that cover parts and labor. You owe it to yourself if you're looking for a new appliance to head over to Pickens to Discounted Appliance Warehouse online at dawpickens.com, dawpickens.com. The Richland County Sheriff's Department is mourning the death of one of their own after K9 Wick died in the line of duty early yesterday morning. Wick was hit by a vehicle during a chase, the Sheriff's Department said in a news release. The incident began around 1 a.m. yesterday morning when deputies identified a stolen vehicle in the Windsor Lake Boulevard area of Columbia. The deputies tried to pull the vehicle over, but the driver refused to stop, leading to a pursuit on Interstate 77, according to the sheriff's office. At the second mile marker on I-77, deputies used stop sticks, and the vehicle came to a halt. But the driver then jumped out of the car and started to flee. With the suspected car thief still in sight, K9 specialist Zaid Abdullah deployed Wick. The Sheriff's Office Department said Abdullah and Wick were in pursuit when the 3-year-old Belgian Malinois leashes broke, according to the Sheriff's Office. Wick pulled away from Abdullah and continued across the northbound side of I-77, where sadly he was struck by a vehicle. The Wick, who had been with the Sheriff's Department for a year and a half, died at the scene. Now, that would just have to be heartbreaking. This is the second canine that we've had to say goodbye to in, about a week. The sled canine last week that was killed down in the Newberry area that was shot and killed by a gunshot. But, these canines, they're a special breed. They're just special officers. And the bond that they build between their handlers is just amazing. I had the opportunity last week, I mentioned this to you before, when we had our kickoff press conference for Law Enforcement Appreciation Day, which will be September the 11th. And we'll serve breakfast to about 600 officers in Greenville that day. And so as part of our news conference, we had 6 canine units come and they literally stood behind me. I was part of the program along with Seabrook Marchant. And you had 6 canines who stood behind me, and they were well behaved. These were dogs that some were not familiar with one another because they were from different agencies. And I was just amazed at how well trained they are and how they do exactly, they want to please their handler. They are working dogs. And I joked about how Jesse and Simon would have been bouncing off the walls, particularly with other dogs in the room. But they're trained to work, and that's what Wick was doing. The driver that struck Wick was identified, and the South Carolina Highway Patrol said that they would lead an investigation. But I'm certain that the driver was just traveling along I-77. It was like early in the morning, 1 a.m., dark, and I'm sure Wick, in pursuit of this car thief, just ran in front of it, and his handler had to see that happen. Probably saw it coming, and nothing he could do about it. The suspected car thief got away, but several other law enforcement agencies in the area were assisting the search. I have not heard if, in fact, they have detained that person. There's going to be a funeral procession yesterday for Wick. The sheriff's office said it would be about 10 miles long. Sheriff Leon Lott spoke with the media about Wick's death yesterday afternoon, and in a statement said, as the Richland County Sheriff's Department mourns the loss of K9 Wick, we thank the community for their support. Prior to Wick's death, the Sheriff's Department had a K9 unit with 26 dogs and their handlers, making it one of the largest law enforcement K9 units in South Carolina. The Sheriff's Office team has 2 dogs to detect explosives, 5 to detect human remains, 1 to detect electronics, which is commonly used in child pornography cases. The rest of the dogs are full service, which means they are trained in multiple skills, including tracking, apprehension, article search, and narcotics detection. It's just amazing to me, again, as I talked with these officers, these handlers last week, it's amazing to me how certain dogs can do certain things. They're just like us. We all have our own individual talents, and they have special talents as well. This is the second time in just over a week that law enforcement has had a canine killed in the line of duty in South Carolina. On June the 11th, South Carolina Law Enforcement Division K9 Coba was shot while assisting the Newberry County Sheriff's Office in apprehending a man who was wanted on a burglary charge. I hope they put that man under the jail. According to the Officer Down Memorial page nationally, there have been 9 line-of-duty deaths for K9 officers this year. 4 by gunfire, 1 stabbed, 1 struck by a vehicle, 1 in a training exercise, 1 due to exposure to toxins, and 1 duty-related illness. So we sadly say goodbye to another K9 here in South Carolina. And keep the sheriff's office in your prayers, and particularly this handler, because this is like losing a member of his family. So what do you do if you're a wealthy beachfront landowner and your neighbor poisons your trees just to try to improve their view? 2 Maine millionaires are bickering in court over accusations that one poisoned the other's trees to score the ultimate ocean view, and that in doing so, a lethal herbicide leached into their small community's only public beach. Lisa Gorman, wife of the late LL Bean president Leon Gorman, claims that her neighbor applied herbicide to her oak trees without consent in 2021. Neighbor Amelia Bond, who is the former CEO of St. Louis Foundation, these are big-time people in this area, multi-millionaires, then offered to split the cost to remove the dying trees from the front of the Camden home in 2022, according to legal documents reviewed by the Associated Press. This gave Bond an unobstructed view of the Penobscot Bay, an idyllic harbor filled with lobster boats, yachts, and schooners, according to the article. I mean, this is crazy. You got these rich people who are literally trying to kill the trees, and look, that was a dead giveaway when they offered to have them cut down, share the cost of having them cut down. The destruction didn't stop at the Gorman property. Herbicide tebutherion spread next door to the town's only public beach, Seaside Beach, prompting a legal investigation. Residents were seen walking their dogs just 500 feet away from the soil where the herbicide, lethal to aquatic plants, was detected. Bond and her husband, Arthur Bond III, who's an architect and nephew of the former U.S. Senator Kip Bond, have paid thousands to the state and $1.5 million to Gorman, the town's planning and development director, told the Associated Press. Boy, that was an expensive view. But you know what? I'll bet you, when you're this rich, they don't care. I had a situation at Caesar's Head, South Carolina. I owned some property up there. And this was years ago. But we had a very similar situation to where one of the homeowners who wanted to improve his view did something similar and ended up cutting down some trees on property of his neighbors to improve his view. And what are you going to do once the trees are gone, once they're dead and once they're cut down? He was asked to pay a fee to the HOA, which, again, he gladly paid, and he got his view. Because you can't, you can't regrow the trees, or not in our lifetime, not when that big. According to the Associated Press, a couple part-time transplants from Missouri are also on the hook for further monitoring and remediation to the Lake Memorial Beach and its park. And Maine Attorney General Aaron Fry has agreed to investigate the incident further. So there could be more than just paying money involved here. There could be some criminal charges coming. Many residents of Camden, made up of just 5,000 people, don't think the fines are adequate punishment, with some calling for harsher fines or even criminal prosecution. Paul Hodgkin, a resident, said anybody dumb enough to poison trees right next to the ocean should be prosecuted as far as I'm concerned. Now, the maximum fine that can be imposed by the Maine Board of Pesticide Control is $4,500, which the Gormans have already paid. Representative Vicky Dodera suggested that perhaps there should be a sliding scale for wealthier perpetrators. You think? Because, the $4,500 and evidently the $1.5 million they paid is nothing to these people, and they improved their view. Their view probably increased the value of the property much, much more. Dodera said, it makes me so livid, this situation. The minute I heard about it, I thought, wow, these people are going to get a slap on the wrist. That's just not right. An attorney for the Bond couple told the outlet that their clients continue to cooperate with the town of Camden, state of Maine, and the Gormans, and continue to take the allegations against them very seriously. I'm sure they do. Again, they got their view for just a mere, what would that, if you added that up, what was it, $1.5 million plus $4,500, and probably increased the value of their property by millions and millions. Hope you'll join the conversation today. 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. Send your comments to the Furman Ford text line. You can leave a quick voice message, and your emails are always welcome, joey@joeyhudson.com. Speaking of the Furman Ford text line, it's never been more important to support locally run businesses owned by people who actually live here in the upstate. Let me take a minute to talk with you about our friends at Furman Ford. If you're looking for a new vehicle, maybe a great pre-owned vehicle, one you can trust, or maybe you're looking to order that special vehicle. Either way, if you want a new one, a brand new one, or a pre-owned that you can trust, the folks at Furman Ford, they're there to help you. Their name is on the sign because their name is on the line, because every single transaction is important to them. Jim Furman, Matthew Furman. They do business the right way. When you stop by, when you give them a call, or maybe when you just send them a quick email, you're always going to have access to a member of the Furman Ford family. And by the way, they also offer great service, and you're not going to have to wait weeks and weeks to get it done. And you do not have had to purchase your vehicle at Furman Ford. Doesn't even have to be a Ford. They service all makes and models. Visit my friends at Furman Ford online at furmanford.com, furmanford.com. Welcome to National Take Your Dog to Work Day. Are you taking your little furry friend to the office with you today? If you're about to head out the door and you don't have he or she with you, you might want to think again. The National Take Your Dog to Work Day is celebrated annually on the Friday following Father's Day, which puts it today, and honors one of our most beloved pets, our little puppy dogs. Wouldn't you agree that the hardest part of the day is when you walk out that door and you leave your little four-legged fur babies behind as we head to the office. So when Pet Sitters International pitched the idea of taking them with us, how could we resist? I mean, there's some companies who actually allow you to bring your dog to work with you every day. But on this day, this special day, a lot of companies are opening their doors and allowing you to bring your little furry friend with you for the day. Dogs just brighten up even the best day. I mean, it's just you hear me talking about Jesse and Simon. We just love Jesse and Simon, and I don't care how bad a day you've had. When you go home and you got those little sweet faces coming to greet you, it just puts you in a good mood, doesn't it? So why not take them and maybe it'll increase your productivity today. As you run out the door, don't forget your briefcase, your puppy dogs, and take them some treats along the way as well. National Take Your Dog to Work Day began in 1999 as a way to celebrate companion dogs and to encourage adoptions. Having your dog at work with you all day may make it a little tough to get all the things done today, though, and there'll be a lot of distractions today, I can guarantee you that, but having your dog with you may allow you to interact with your coworkers in a whole new way, as the dog is a great icebreaker. They're much more social than we are at times. So if you didn't realize that today is the Take Your Dog to Work Day, rethink how you're going to go to work today. On our text line, Faye writes, Joey, from what I see, hear, and read, many Americans have lost their way. The Bible has all but been destroyed. New churches have their own Bible, which is leading folks away from God. Unless we as a country turn from our wickedness, we have no hope. I have more days behind me than ahead, and for me, this is good. My grandmother used to tell us children this day would come, and it's here. We as a country have lost our moral compass. News clips of things happening in Greenville are disgusting. I no longer feel Americans will always do the right thing, Joey, and it makes me very sad. This is in reference to, I'm sure, the story that I talked with you about yesterday, where, thank goodness, Louisiana is now mandating that the Ten Commandments be posted in schools, in public schools. I've had a lot of you email me and text me after that saying, why doesn't South Carolina do it? Or why doesn't North Carolina do it? Or Georgia? Or wherever you live? And look, I agree. We need more states doing this. Make the Ten Commandments mandatory rather than having these groups who are having the Ten Commandments stripped away from public buildings. Chris writes on the text line, I'd like to see the rest of our country follow Louisiana and put the Ten Commandments in every classroom nationwide. They took God out of everything, and look how bad our nation is today. So much anger and hate in our world today. Our country was founded on God. We need him back more now than ever. I agree. We do. And don't you think a lot of our problems would go away if we put God back into the schools? You wouldn't have some of the issues that we have now. You wouldn't have some of the crime if we had that foundation, that Christian foundation that was just part of life years ago. How did we get that far away? How did we manage to let this slip by? Love to get your comments on that. Text me, email me, joey@joeyhudson.com. Tony says, Joey, will Mark Burns be on the ballot in Travelers Rest? No, that's the 4th congressional district. William Timmons won that race last week. So no, Mark, the 3rd congressional district. By the way, the day is the last day that you can early vote. So if you want to early vote, if you can't go vote next Tuesday because you're going to be out of town or something, it's too late to get a absentee ballot or mail-in ballot. So head on over to the polls today. If you're not quite sure where to vote, just go to scvotes.gov and you can find your precinct. Different counties are doing it differently. Some have more than one. All counties, their county election commission are open for voting. but some counties have multiple locations. I know Spartanburg County does, Greenville County does. So just if you just go to your county election commission website, and they'll have those locations posted. But plan to vote, and if you don't make it today, that's okay. But carve out some time next Tuesday, because this 13% turnout, that's not going to get it, folks. We got to do better than that. We can do better than that. And remember, if you voted in the Republican primary 2 weeks ago, then you can vote in it again. If you voted in the Democrat primary, you cannot cross over and vote in the Republican Party this time around. So, and again, if you're not sure, if you have a runoff in your area, just go online and check it out. This is an email. Hey, Joey, I'll be at Willie Taco next Thursday at 8 o'clock, and I'm hoping to see you there. God bless, and thank you for what you do. This is in reference to our debate watch party, and it is next Thursday at the Willie Taco on Lawrence Road. You're invited. We'd love to have you come out to join Tara, Bill, Charlie. Bobby Mack's going to be there. Yours truly. I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a fun evening. We'll kick things off at 8 o'clock, and we're just going to have fun watching Donald Trump take on Joe Biden. There'll be lots of food, and you'll be able to watch the first of the presidential debates on some big screen TVs. Do you think Joe Biden's going to freeze in the middle of the debate? How are they going to get him ready? How are they going to have Joe Biden? He can barely stay up. He can't focus on things very long. How are they going to get him to focus for, what is it? Is it an hour or an hour and a half? We'll have to look that up. But again, happening next Thursday. I hope you'll plan to come. Join the News Talk 98.9 WRD team, and I hope to see you there. 5 illegal immigrants were arrested in Missouri this week for allegedly kidnapping a teen girl in Indiana. This is just another example of Joe Biden's open borders. Officers with the Missouri State Highway Patrol were alerted around 2 a.m. on June 17th that a 14-year-old girl was reported missing in Cass County, Indiana. 14 years old. The girl's father had witnessed a girl enter a vehicle later determined to be a black Dodge Durango with an unknown registration. The father reported the incident to the Logansport Police Department. The Missouri State Trooper spotted an SUV that matched the description of the vehicle a short while later, initiated a stop. The trooper found the girl in the back of the SUV. She identified herself as the teen who was missing. Authorities found no evidence of sexual assault, thank goodness. That's it for today's edition of Just the Truth. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition Studio. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. If you haven't joined our mailing list yet, visit my website, joeyhudson.com. Just click on the Connect with Joey button so that you can receive our emails and the most up-to-date news. Also, find me on YouTube. Be sure and like, subscribe, follow me on my YouTube channel. Just search for Joey Hudson. Appreciate you spending a few minutes of your day with me. Be sure and forward this edition of Just the Truth to some friends. Just click on the share button. Send it to a few of your contacts, because if we're going to build our community and we're going to win in the June primaries, and if we're going to win in November especially, we got to build an army of conservatives. The way we beat Joe Biden is through educating people, and no better way than encouraging them to listen to Just the Truth. Hey, keep those comments coming via the Furman Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. Your emails always welcome as well. Joey@joeyhudson.com. Don't forget to take advantage of the MyPillow special, $25 for the My Towels 6-piece towel set when you use promo code Joey. Just go to mypillow.com. Always use promo code Joey. We're back again tomorrow. Hope you will be too. Remember, God's got this. He's still in control.